In this episode, we talk with former American Idol contestant whose music is inspired by her middle school years. We'll get into it after I hit this music. Joining me this week is international touring artist, former American Idol contestant, Casey McQuillen. Casey, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat.
We're definitely going to be talking about your American Idol experience, but first, can you tell us a moment in your childhood that helped shape your confidence? Because going from looking at your background, going from a young kid to American Idol, that has to be pretty, how do I say it, scary. For me, I think that would be scary to go in front of people to sing, first of all. So what got you there?
I think somewhere I started performing around middle school and have been performing very consistently since. And it was around high school that I realized that almost no one in any audience has had the experience that I'm currently having, right? If I'm on stage in front of 3,000 people, most people haven't done that. Right? And so they're likely not judging how well or not I'm doing it because they have no frame of reference. They're just hoping you don't really mess up. They don't want no one wants to see that. And the few people that may be in the audience that do have that context, well, they know how hard it is what I'm doing. And I think I just try to think about how I would be responding, how I respond to people who are on stage when I'm in the audience. I'm never hoping they fail. That has never happened to me once in my life. And I really think when you have these experiences of being bullied as a kid, being an adult is like playing a little game with yourself of replacing those voices in your head that might be popping up of those few people who said unkind things to you with your life, replacing that with your own voice that you learn to curate over time. And so I think I say that confidence isn't a light switch. It's a muscle. I think a lot of times people look at me on stage as like I'm a curvy woman, I'm a plus size woman. I go on stage. I do not comport myself like someone who is ashamed to be on stage. And I think sometimes people will come to me after a show and say, like, if only I could be as confident as you. I I would my I- if I would then I would be happy. Then it's like there's you and then there's me. And part of the reason that I write such vulnerable and honest music is that I think the juxtaposition of who I am as a stage personality, which is very confident, and who I am in my songwriting, which can be very vulnerable and sometimes insecure and always self reflective. That's the juxtaposition that's most important to me because the answer is how did I get confident? I did it when I wasn't confident. I just did it anyway. And then over time, I became confident, and on very rare occasions, I still have moments where I have to fake it. And
Yeah.
then I fake it a bunch. I did a new song this last tour that was, like, really hard for me. I was, like, dancing while I was singing, and I kind of felt, like, silly. Like, a lot of my music is really serious, and I wrote this fun song, and I kinda had to dance, and I was like, "You know what? I'm just gonna pretend to be a pop star until I feel like one." And about halfway through tour, I didn't have to pretend anymore.
Yep. Fake it till you make it, they always say.
That
'Cause
there's a reason
nobody
it's
knows.
saying in the book, but I think there's really practical ways to implement that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you can fake it till you make it to yourself as well, you know?
Yeah. What type of bullying did you experience growing up?
So I always say I I was picked on in, like, the very American traditional style of bullying. Like, it was, um for me, it was challenging. I also think it's well within the bell curve of what the average like, not the average kid, but I was a really, like, I was a really smart kid. I knew the answers to every question in every class, and I always have a hand up, and I was the head of the student council. Like, I just was, like it was looking back, it was like I was making a resume to, like, be a good adult and also have been bullied in middle school, you know what I mean? Um, and I got, like, the spitballs at you while you're doing your student council speech. And, I have some pretty specific memories of moments that were a little more traumatizing than others. But I think mostly I was a young girl who was opinionated, outspoken, intelligent, and really could not stand watching other kids get bullied. I really I
Yeah.
couldn't as a kid and I can't now. And I would insert myself, I would stand up and I was 11. I didn't have the skill set or understanding how to make that. All I knew was to divert the negative attention onto me so those kids could get away. And that was, I think, I kind of put a target on my back. Um, but looking back, I'm so proud of who I am as a child. I was a child. But I think that what I'll want to do when I have children is make sure that my children um, have the tools to seek help when they can,
Yeah.
and also to understand that sometimes being brave means it's going to hurt. You have to decide what kind of person you want to be. Do you want to be someone who never gets hurt? Or do you want to be somebody who stands up and does the right thing? Because those are mutually exclusive. You have to pick. And I think the trick of childhood is not it's not hiding our children from all pain. It's teaching our children the meaning in it, that sometimes it's worth it. Because I look back at my childhood and I'm proud of the choices that I made. I just wish I'd made them with a little bit more support.
Yeah, it sounds like you had some jealous kids who didn't like your confidence, who didn't like you're smart, and they wanna knock you down a few levels, and you ignored it.
Isn't
You
that
didn't
all
let it
bullying
happen.
though? I think
Yeah,
all bullying
but
is,
some people buy into it, though. Some people fall back. Some people will, go to that level. They'll like, "Okay, I'm not good enough. I can't do this."
well, I started lying about my grades. I remember the first time I did it. I remember being in, I think, probably the 6th grade, and a boy came up to me, and everyone had done really bad on a math test, and I had gotten 102. And everyone was upset, and I was like, "Shit, I'm gonna get in trouble here." And this boy came up to me in front of everyone. The teacher left the room, and he was like, "Well, let me guess, Casey, what did you get?" Like I was doing something bad by getting good
Yeah,
grades, right? And I looked at him and it was like, I was so little, right? Like it had never occurred to me I could lie before. And I looked at him and I was like, "Oh, I got an 87." And he was like, "Oh." And then just moved on. And so there were times I didn't bomb the test, but I
yeah,
did lie. And there were times where I chose to protect myself. And there were times that I felt like I couldn't, and that was usually when other kids were on the line. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't. I can't. And this is my dad has always said everyone's greatest strength is also their greatest weakness. If you stick out really intensely in one direction and it makes you great, it's
yeah.
also gonna end up being the thing that leaves your back exposed. That's how human beings are. And I have a really rigid sense of morality, and I can be really brave, and that can expose me to ridicule and hurt. And again, raising children isn't about making children who are perfectly average and never stick out in any way. It's about preparing your kids that if they do stick out, they have a high enough sense of self that they can survive coming up against the insecurities of other kids.
Yeah, when you were doing your student council speeches and kids were throwing spitballs at you, how are you able to kind of just ignore what was going on and just keep doing what you're doing, if you can remember that far?
Ignore what was going on. Like,
You
listen,
did?
I'm a performer, baby. So the show must go on. I finished whatever little like the middle school dance movie at this time, whatever stupid thing I was doing, and then I would cry in the bathroom. Like, I think I have a we where I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, and we have a phrase that says the Boston in you came out, which means I'm not gonna let you see me cry. Like, I would rather die than let you see me cry. So I would stick my nose in the air and then I would go in the bathroom and cry. And luckily, I was a nice kid, so I had a lot
Yeah,
of friends. I wasn't isolated. It was just me and my loser friends. We were just losers, and we weren't the popular kids. We were the head of student council and the head of the chess club, and and that was the kind of kids I attracted. And I'm still friends with all people who were losers in middle school. You listen, if you peaked in middle school, something went horribly wrong. So, I think that was the trick wasn't not being upset when it happened. Again, the trick was just having a full enough life that I was able to
yeah,
absorb those punches. And listen, also like intensive therapy. I've been in therapy for since I was that age, and now I don't feel like I'm really rehashing my childhood. Now I feel like I'm in the kind of therapy where I'm moving forward and looking forward in my life. But I spent years unlearning that me being fabulous and great and awesome is something I needed to, like, be ashamed of and, like, be so sorry. I'm
yeah.
so sorry I'm smart. I'm so sorry I'm talented. I'm like, "I'm not sorry. It's not
Yeah.
my problem."
So going from middle school, high school to the American Idol auditions, because you said earlier that when you be brave and you speak up, it kind of opens yourself to be a little bit, vulnerable. And here you're going to probably one of the toughest competitions to call you out on imperfections on national TV. Walk us through that process of what it's like to do the auditions to American Idol and what was going through your mind, especially how was your confidence being shaped?
Well, you know what's funny is, like, I ended up going to a boarding school for high school because I went to, like, a school where I say everyone was the dorky kid getting spitballs thrown at them, and I went to a high school of those kids, which I think was really healthy for my psyche. Honestly, I was really I wanted to be able to be me and be at my full potential, but not stick out. I think, m doing well in school was never about making other kids feel bad. It was just because I liked learning, and singing was never about pointing out that somebody else couldn't sing. It was just because I liked to sing. And I went to this high school that was very competitive and everyone was smarter than me and there was great singers and people went to Columbia and Yale and Juilliard and they're in the Olympics. Everyone's crazy. And it was great because I didn't stick out. I could be the huge personality I am and it just blended right in. And then I went to Berklee College of Music, which is one of the top music universities, especially for pop rock music. It's pretty up there in the world. And most of the other kids, the first time they'd ever met somebody as talented as them was the day one of freshman fall at Berkeley in college. I had went to high school with everyone who was more talented than me as well. So it didn't freak me out at all. And that was a huge learning curve for the rest. It's like the best singer of every high school in America goes to Berkeley. And it's like how the valedictorian of every high school in America goes to Harvard. And I felt like I had a real leg up because I was comfortable with failure. I was comfortable being in rooms with people who were more talented than me. And the American Idol audition came around, and I had already been putting myself out in all these auditions at Berkeley, and I was comfortable being rejected. It wouldn't have been the first time I didn't get an audition. And I say that now I'm a professional musician at 30 years old. Like that's how good I was as a child. And I was in scenarios where I didn't always win. And going on American Idol, I had this experience that I run an anti-bullying program in schools with children, which I'm sure we'll touch on. But I tell this story to kids because it's true. At the end of my time on like my American Idol audition aired, and it went very well. The judges really liked me, and it was like I got a ton of screen time. It was very exciting, and 50 of my friends crowded into my, like, tiny apartment that I had when I was 22 years old, you know what I mean? And we watched it, and every time my face came on the TV, we, like, cheered, and we're so excited, and it was so nerve-wracking, and there were so many people in my tiny apartment that at one point I just went into my bedroom just to, like, sit for a second. It was really overwhelming in a good way. It was really overwhelming, and I saw on my phone, I had all these text messages from all my friends who weren't in Boston texting me that they just watched it, blah, blah, blah. And a friend of mine who lived in Nashville texted me and she's like, "Girl, you got to go on Twitter right now. It's like you're like trending on Twitter. It's like blowing up." And I was like, and so I opened Twitter, right? And I look up my name and I'm looking at all these messages and they're just lovely. There was like the first time the internet was ever nice, right? It was people being like, "Oh, she seems so kind. What a talented young girl," right? I was like, "Yay." And I was scrolling and I stopped and I, like, went back up and I recognized, like, a photo, like, one of the little photos, the icon photos, and I found a text chain or, like, a tweet chain about me between the girls who had bullied me in middle school. And you have to remember, I went to boarding school, went on, was fabulous without them. I went to college, went on, was fabulous without them. And then I went on American Idol, was fabulous without them. They were in my rearview mirror. And they were tweeting about how, like, ugly and disgusting I was and how it was so disgusting to
Mm.
see people, like me and, like, "Ew, like, I'm gonna kill myself if she wins, this is gross." So I build this all up to the kids who are 13, right? They're still in middle school. And I say to them, I'm like, "Annette, do you wanna know what I did?" They're like, "What?" And I'm like, "I laughed." I burst out laughing and I went and showed all my friends because I didn't care. Because when I was 13, all of my teachers and my parents, everyone told me that bullies bully because they're insecure. Those
Yep.
girls were picking on me because they were insecure. But when they were prettier than me and they were more popular than me and they had boyfriends and they had a date to the dance and I didn't, it certainly didn't feel like they were picking on me because they were insecure. It felt like they were picking on me because I was ugly and weird, which is what they were telling me. And then I went on TV and I was the most cool I'd ever been. I was so cool. We're still talking about how cool I was being at that moment a decade ago. And they were still trying to say I was ugly and lame. And I think that though I'd done all this work up here to know, I knew that those girls were likely going through something at home or something with themselves, and that's why they had singled me out. That was the moment I like accepted it like here. Like I knew it. It was like, oh, well, I'm like, LOL, I'm literally being the coolest I've ever been. And you're like, you're still trying to say this stuff? And, anyway, that is the true story of me still being bullied while I was on American Idol by those girls from middle school, but you know what? They're probably all moms and, like, nurses now, and they've probably half of them have probably gone to therapy and are much better people now and worked
Yeah.
through whatever the heck was going on with them at that time, and that is something else I say is, like, I bet you a lot of the kids who picked on me go to house parties and non-ironically open up my Spotify and are like, "Oh my god, this girl, like, I was friends with this girl in middle school, like, isn't her music so great?" Because they don't remember it the way I did. They don't think of themselves as the villain, and they are proud of me now because 'cause they're adults and they've moved
Yeah.
on and they're not children anymore. And I just really try to have I try to have, like, no anger in my heart. It's like, "I hope you're doing well." You probably are. I hope so. You probably are.
Yeah, I love that story. That's a great story to share with kids.
Mm.
Because, it sounds like you face with the bullying, it's just a lot of jealous girls, um,
I got picked on
who
by the boys too. I got picked on
really
by
and boys, just a
oh,
lot of
yeah.
jealous people. You're the smart person, you're successful.
Little boys do not like when a girl is smarter than them. It was brutal. That was the who made fun of me the most and tried to tear me down the most for being smarter than them was the boys. The
Really.
girls call me ugly.
Yeah.
And listen, I could have had a better haircut. They're on to something, all right? I could have had some better eyebrows, okay? We've got the eyebrows fixed now. I got a good haircut. We're doing better.
So after American Idol, what I should back up a little bit. How far did you make it through the
I
process?
was I was like a top 40, contestant,
Wow.
pretty far.
Yeah,
I think the thing about me for American Idol is are you a sports fan?
I am football mostly.
Football, okay. Do you if I gotta use a hockey analogy because
Okay, go for it.
I'm living in a Bruins household. So, to the sports fans out there, there's something called, like, a penalty shot, which is when there's just the guy and there's just the goalie, and they shoot, and it's very exciting looking. But that's not really what hockey is, right? Hockey has all these players, and they're moving around, and they're checking each other, blah, blah, blah. American Idol is the penalty shot. It looks to somebody who doesn't know anything about music like music. It's like, "Oh, look, they're shooting the puck. That's hockey." But what I do is the game of hockey. And so what's so funny to me as a musician is that people talk about American Idol because the easiest thing I've ever done in my life was go on American Idol. It's so easy. You just go on TV and you sing, and they usher you from room to room, and you belt. I have a good belting voice. Now, I had trained, I was brave, I put myself out there, but I do that every day when being on stage in front of 10,000 people in Germany is harder than American Idol. And being on stage in front of 10 people at a show that nobody came to is even harder than that. And so I think, my time on American Idol, though it was a great reflective point of how far I'd kind of come from my childhood, from a professional standpoint, it's certainly not what I orient my success around anymore.
Okay. How did that experience, shape your confidence?
How did American Idol shape my confidence? It didn't. Maybe that's not like if we want to have an American Idol focused podcast, that's maybe not what you wanted to hear, but I was just as talented the day before I went on American Idol as the day I came off of it. I was on American Idol for like 2 weeks. It doesn't last that long. And at that time I was studying I graduated summa cum laude with 2 degrees from Berklee College of Music, right? I've
Yeah.
toured this in the last 3 months I played live in front of a quarter million people in Europe. And so being on American Idol on TV, it was the first time I ever had really bright camera lights in my face, which is like a thing you gotta get used to. Um, But I had gotten accepted to very exciting things. I'd also been rejected the year before. I went pretty far in the voice auditions and really messed up and was rejected from it. Um, and that I was just as good of a singer when I did the voice auditions 9 months earlier, but I wore the wrong clothes and I tried to pick a song that I thought like they would want me to sing as opposed to the song I wanted to sing. And it's I don't use outside success to validate me. So American Idol didn't give me confidence because if I needed American Idol to give me confidence, I could have never done it. If you need TV, if you needed TikTok followers to tell you you're talented, you are in the wrong business. And so I I had American Idol wasn't my first audition. I'd done 1,000 shows that felt really important up until that moment, and I did 1,000 after. And that was the one that in the American audiences, people asked me about, but in European audiences, they asked me about very different shows. Um, and so, yeah, I think I didn't get my confidence from American Idol, which I would, and I would, if you think your 16-year-old daughter who's auditioning for American Idol, her confidence could be made or broken by being on this TV show, do not let her audition because that is a problem.
Yeah. So after American Idol now, how'd you end up going to the UK doing all these tours? Because you had this anti-bullying program, which I do want to talk about now. But I want to know how all this started.
I think I am a little bit of a go-getter. It's a really difficult industry. My parents aren't like famous musicians, and it's very hard to break into Hollywood without family that's in Hollywood because it's very insular. It's just really hard to do. And so one of the first things I did, I was actually doing it before American Idol, but it really was a lot easier for me to do after was I made this anti-bullying program, which is a school program that I created out of these songs that I had written when I was 13, 15, 17, that were about bullying, self-love, self-growth, self-doubt. And the reason the program worked is I wasn't an adult who tried to write songs about what it feels like to be 15. I had songs from when I was 15 that then as an adult I could use, but the kids, it just wasn't, kids can smell BS from a million miles away. And I'm a professional entertainer. Like I'm not a professional school speaker. I go on, I play arenas. And so when I go to schools, I bring that like pop star energy and we kind of like sneak in all this learning. And I was doing that for a long time here, and I was doing like small shows, and I was opening for small artists and like 300 cap rooms across the US. And I was able to get a spot on the Kelly Clarkson show, which was a wild uh get for me at the time. It would be crazy for me to do that now, and I am a lot more established as an artist now. But Kelly, of course, as everyone knows, is American Idol girl, and she was really moved to hear that I was using my experience on American Idol to give back across the US. And so she had me on to talk about the program and talk about my music. And it was very exciting. And I was able to capitalize that into more tours because again, it's all about just getting through. There's 10,000 girls that want to go on every tour going on in the
Yep.
world. So you got to get the manager to open your email. That's like getting them to open it. And so the truth is, most of the people I was trying to open for, they would have trouble getting on the Kelly Clarkson show. So they're like, "Who is this girl?" Like that's how right. That's how you. That's how it. This is how it's supposed to work. It doesn't always
Yeah.
work, but this is I worked hard and I got this and then I used that to get this. I used that to get this. And I was trudging along doing some really painful shows right after COVID. I hit the ground right when I got vaccinated again and went out with an artist and we played to nobody. He'd sold a bunch of tickets, but nobody came because it was post COVID and it was absolutely brutal. I was so bad. And I felt so bad for him. So I was like going out there every night trying to, there was like 8 people. And I did a show and I did my best. And there was a really important person who was in the audience and put in a very good word with some very high up people. And about a month later, I got booked to, instead of playing 100 cap rooms in America, I got booked to play like 3,000 cap rooms in
Wow.
UK.
You know,
But again, it was
that's
because I showed up when it was hard and it sucked, and I did it anyway, and I did a really good job anyway, and then it worked.
I try to tell people that when I first started this podcast, our listenership is not obviously it's not that high. And I try to tell my friends that, it's not about the quantity of people, it's that quality. You get that one person, you need that one person that's right to hear your message to take it further, because that's how my podcast took off later on. I had that one person.
Yes,
That's
and
all
that's
it takes. That's all you need. You just need that one person.
well,
Or
also
2
it's
would be
about
better, but you
well,
don't
it's
need
about
hundreds of
you.
listeners. Yeah.
You don't put out bad content. You don't. If no one listens, you don't put out bad content, and that's how I was with my music for the longest time, is I'd record this music, and me and my friends went to Berkeley, we make really high-end radio level, label level music, and nobody was listening to it, and I would make the next one, and now people, listen to it, and I'm like, "What?" Like, I have been making radio level music the whole time, and now people are listening, and the good news is when they go back and listen to my previous stuff, it's just as good. But I don't make music or do any of this. I'm not like my goal isn't to be famous. I'm an artist. I like making art and I like communicating. I really like children. I love performing in front of kids. I think kids are so funny. They're just like hilarious and their lives suck. And I just love to go and commiserate with them about how much their lives suck. And I enjoy it. And so and I'm strategic and I'm smart and I'm business savvy and I push and I like all of it, but I enjoy it. I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. It wouldn't be it's not worth it. Fame is not worth it. Fame isn't good. The art is good.
Yeah. How did you get your anti-bullying message, like your school program, out there for you, where you got schools to start booking you? Was that from the Kelly Clarkson show?
Because
Is
I'm a
that the
crazy person. Because I'm
crazy
insane.
person?
Because I'm insane. I so I did this program. What happened was I went to teach a songwriting class at my old middle school with my middle school teacher who had taught me guitar first, and he invited me back, and I picked these songs that were appropriate for children, right? I didn't pick songs about romantic love. I picked songs about growing up because I was singing for children. And over the course of the 45 minutes, the kids did not care at all about my tips for lyricism. Like they didn't care about my songwriting tips, but they really found the stories I was telling about what I wrote the songs about were these instances of self-growth and bullying and all these things. They re- they really liked them. And we were like, wow, maybe I should come back and do this for the whole school. I was like, wow, I should do this for the other schools in the town. And I realized and I was a 18-year-old, 19-year-old artist who was getting to play my original songs in front of 1,000 kids at a time, which is just, really not common. It's very hard to sing original music in front of a captive audience, and the kids were really connecting with it, they loved it. And you remember, your kids hate anyone listening, I know your kids hate school assemblies. Kids do not hate mine. They literally come up to me, the older ones, and they'll be like, yeah, it's actually, I hate assemblies, but, you're, cool, though. You're, cool. I'm like, "I am cool, aren't I?" And the kids like it, and I have so much fun, and I was calling I was literally Googling and calling, the secretary at the school, and I would get hung up on 99 out of 100 times, and when I went on American Idol, I started being like, um, "Oh, well, I'm an American Idol finalist," and they'd be like, "Why didn't you say so? I'll put you right through," right? Same program, same quality, but all of a sudden I had this American Idol tag to
Got the
include
social proof.
and the social proof, and then I was crazy. I pretended to be my own publicist. I mean, I did all the things you're supposed to do. I pretended to be my own booking agent, calling the schools. I would book the show, and I would Google local newspaper in Tewksbury, Mass, and I would call them, and I would say, there's this really exciting thing going on. American Idol finalist Casey McQuillen is singing about bullying at this middle school. And they need stuff to cover, so they would come, and then I would take that article and I would send it to the next school. And, I worked really hard at it, and then by the end of the time and then I was double majoring at Berkeley. I ended up putting all of my classes into 3 days, so I could 2 days of the week, and I had my dad's old pickup truck, and I would bring my own equipment, and I would lug it in, and I would set myself up, and I really, got it done. I wasn't being paid. I got it done, and I saw something. There was something there. I saw it, and I really enjoyed it. It was very validating. It was very validating, and, I kept pushing, and then I was playing to 2,000 kids. I'd go up and play some massive high school where they put, 6 middle schools together, And then people were reaching out to me that I went to school with being like, "Oh, how do I, like, get into this?" And it's like, go back in time 3 years and call 9,000 secretaries. Like, that's how you get into it. Work harder. Um, so honestly, it's something I'm very proud of because I built that program with my blood, sweat, and tears and my determination. I was just determined to make it happen. And what's really exciting is I'm very busy now as a full-time artist, and booking it, as you can hear, is very time
Yeah.
intensive. But in the UK, I found somebody, their assemblies work a bit differently over there, and I found someone who books them. And so I went and I did, like, literally, like, 100 shows in, like, 6 weeks. It was crazy.
Wow.
It was a little too much, if I'm gonna be honest. We're
Yeah.
rolling back from that much. But I did 6 weeks just in September, October, November this year. So it's still very much a big part of my artistry, and I've started incorporating some songs that weren't written in my childhood, but were written, like, I have had a lot of weight fluctuation recently, and I wrote a song that's very, very vulnerable and personal called "Skinny" that's about body dysmorphia, and, I've been singing, that song in these high schools and middle schools, and it is, like, really connecting with the students, because with social media, and now I've adjusted my program to make sure that every single story I tell circles back to social media. Because again, I am verified on Instagram. Like, I've got tens of thousands of followers on all these different platforms, so the kids will listen to me. If someone's mom who has, like, 50 Facebook friends tells them that social media is bad, they're like, "You don't get it, mom." But if I do, well, I'm verified, and I'm telling you, like, "This is bad. Like, we've gotta be really careful here. It's bad." The kids listen a little bit more.
Yeah. So going to these assemblies, you talked about your stories. Is there like a main message you want to get across to these kids?
Yes. Um The main message of my program is that what is a small word to you could impact somebody for the rest of their life. And it's you, nice kid, you, student class president, you, not that kid in the back with the hoodie on, not him, you, nicest girl on the soccer team. You've said something that somebody is going to unpack in therapy in 10 years. Because I think the thing is, we forget as adults that the empathy centers of their brain literally do not develop fully at this point of their lives. And so to the adult, I call it like manual empathy. It's like manual empathy. It's like kids literally forget that they can affect someone. And so I'll tell you, like, a true story that is like, I have a story about in the program that the kind of the epicenter of my program is my little brother was really bullied in middle school in not a normal way. I was bullied in, like, a normal spitball way. My brother was not bullied in a normal way. And it was really bad because he was sick as a child and he was really, really bullied for it. To the point that adults, it's the concerning level of bullying that you start to get worried. And he was sick, right? That's what he did. He was sick. And I tell this whole program and I tell the true story of running in to the kids who did this to him, the kids whose faces and names are plastered in the front of my mind for ruining my brother's life. Because he's still dealing with the consequences of this as an adult with, like, PTSD from, like, how bad it was. And these kids, I ran into them at CVS in my hometown, and what they said was, "Oh my God, Patty McQuillen, what a good kid, man. What's he up to?" They don't remember. They don't remember doing it. This is true. This is real. They exist in the world. They follow
Yeah.
me on Instagram. I will post this clip on Instagram and they still won't know I'm talking about them because they didn't wake up every day and rub their hands together maniacally saying, "Let's go ruin the sick kid's life." He was just the constant easiest target as kids were experiencing insecurity, which is normal, and everyone picked on him and it chipped away at him. And I was telling this story and it's very intense. It's the only part of the program that I get very upset. You can tell I still get it was, like,
Yeah.
really upsetting to my, like, I still get upset. I talk about this all the time and I still get upset. And it's been very meaningful to me and my brother that there is a silver lining to this. He's, like, very supportive of the program, and it's brought us very close that I do this, and I got this email after playing at, like, a middle school, and it was, like, to my website 'cause, these kids, right, thank God they didn't have social media, but I give them my email address. I'm like, "You can email me." And I got this email from, like, an 11-year-old girl, and it sounded like it was typed out by a child, right? It was like, "Hi, I liked your show. You're such a good singer. You're so pretty. Also, I have cancer, and I lost all my hair. And before you came to school, nobody would sit with me at lunch because they said they didn't wanna catch the cancer. But after you came, everyone wants me to sit with them. So it's better. Thanks." Name. I sat I could chalk up now. This person's probably an adult by this point. I sat on the floor of my apartment and I heavy cried. Um, and you would say, "Is it really that all it takes that these kids, like, they didn't realize they were traumatizing this girl?" Yes. Yes, they didn't realize they were traumatizing her. They're not all evil. It became a funny joke. They're children. But when I told the story about my brother, everyone was like, "Ooh, that's what we're doing to Susan." And it stopped. And most of the time, it's not that dramatic. But you would be shocked when I reframe it that you don't have to be a bully in order to ruin someone's life. Kids are like, "Oh," because we have this thing where there's bullies and then there's my child. And parents will do anything to keep their child from getting the designation of bully. Bully has become one of those words we're not allowed to use,
Yeah.
which is so dumb because I am a bully. I am positive I have said something in my life that someone still thinks about. I don't I don't remember. That's the point. But I there's no way I didn't. I'm 30 years old. How could I have gone this far? That's not possible. And so my program is about centering us in the responsibility because it's all of us. It's not the one kid. It's all of us.
I love it, and I love the fact that you use music to explain all this stuff. Because if I were to go on stage and just sit here and talk about that, kids won't pay attention.
Well,
But
kids are really used to looking to singers and athletes as role models. And also, again, kids' emotional centers are still developing, and music and storytelling within music creates, like, psychologically, this has been studied that, like, music creates very safe places for people to engage in emotional content. That's why, like, your dad who, like, never hugs you will, like, cry listening to a James Taylor song, and you're like, "Wait, what?" Because it's like, "What?" But it's like people are able to get into it. That's why people cry at movies. Like, art creates safe boundaries and for in which we can engage in emotions that might be too big for us to handle under other circumstances. And so it's not a coincidence that I tell the story of the song and then I sing the song and kids are able to take in the information and then experience the emotion. Right, and there's a reason I explain and now it's so funny, it's influenced my artistry. When I do this a lot, I open for very big artists, so I'll go on, like, an arena tour, and I'm the person who goes on before the person, right? Which is a
yep.
hard job, but I cut my teeth going to middle schools, playing for 1,000 15-year-olds. Let me tell you, playing for 1,000 15-year-olds is way harder than playing for an arena of adults who paid tickets and have a glass of wine in their hand. But what I do is I run my artist show like I'm running a school assembly. I really do, because I go on and I'm like, "Okay, this is what we're gonna do, and these are the rules," and I'm like, "We're gonna have fun," and I literally, like, coach the adults emotionally through the show, and everyone loves it because it's like, "Great, like, I'm not in charge for the next half an hour, like, amazing," and I always explain at least a little bit my songs before I sing them because it helps if I tell you the facts here, and then
Yeah,
you just focus on feeling here. It's too much to try to do both at one time,
yeah.
you
You
know?
know, I was on the news a few months ago, and I was talking about confidence, and I was saying, what I do is I listen to, like, Christmas music, calming music, music that inspires hope. I can't
Mm,
listen to Metallica before I go talk about anti-bullying. I can't do that. I can't do that. I
yeah,
like
you
Metallica, but I have to be in the environment in a calming space in order to talk about certain things and just be calmed down. Metallica is great for long car rides, staying awake,
exactly.
but I love the fact that you use music to explain all these really important issues, especially the body dysmorphia That's huge. Social media doesn't help out a lot with, I have I'm a father of all girls, so I'm probably gonna have to deal with this at some point.
Yeah,
But
I think though what the way you talk to them now will influence the way they see themselves. I read a study recently that we all know that the word like, you're not supposed to say to your daughters, like, "You're fat. You're ugly," right? Nobody does that. No one says to their daughter, "Oh, honey, I wouldn't wear that. It's unflattering." We've learned our parents did that. We're not supposed to do that. We're not doing that anymore. But they say actually children, like little kids, like I'm talking like 0 to 5,
yeah,
they learn by mimicking. And so when they see you use a fork, they try to use a fork. When they see you go to the window, they go to the window. That's how little kids' brains developments work. And so when you turn to your husband and you go, "Oh God, I just like I'm so fat. I'm so fat." The girl goes, "I'm so fat. I'm so fat."
yeah,
The way we speak about ourselves actually determines more how children will think about themselves. So the way you speak about others will be the way your children speak about others. The way you speak about yourself will be the way your children speak about themselves. And so I have this song called Skinny that I have played to a lot of people. And it's a song I have had a lot of weight fluctuation in the past decade of my life, and I went from being very thin to not being thin anymore. And it was very challenging, socially and emotionally. And I wrote this very vulnerable song that I thought, even for me, this might be too vulnerable, about how I felt like I was walking around in the world imagining this other version of my life where I got everything I wanted and everything went my way, and every moment was a little bit better because I was still thin. What would this dinner look like if I was still thin? What would this bar look like if I was still thin? What would this workout class, what would this podcast interview, what would wouldn't it be better if I was just still skinny? And I was haunted by this, and I felt so guilty about it, because I know I'm not supposed to think those things, but here I was thinking them. And I wrote this song about it, and I spent a really long time on it. And the bridge of the song is the most important part to me. That's like the part right at the end before the last chorus, because I was writing the song and I realized that those fantasies weren't true because I wouldn't be me if I was skinny. I'd be someone who starved myself. My adult body wasn't supposed to be that size anymore. And so I wouldn't be at dinner because I wouldn't be eating the dinner. And I wouldn't be at the bar because I wouldn't be having those empty calories. And I wouldn't be at that workout class because I would have gone to 2 that day. I would have been on one at 5 and what, right? I'm imagining me thin, but me thin doesn't exist. I can be a different person and be skinny, or I can be me and not be. And I have to pick. And that is what the bridge is about. I do this whole show, and I hope your audience thinks I like to be fun and funny, and I'm a very happy person. I am, luckily. But the one moment I really break it down and I like break the fourth wall is I tell the audience the true feelings I had that led me to write this song. And the reason that I wait 20 minutes into the show and reason that I sing it at the end of my school show, my school anti-bullying program, is I spend the whole time convincing you how confident I am. How, like, if I was only as confident as her, my life would be better. If I was only as confident as her, look what she can do. And then I pull back and I say, I'm not confident. I freaking hate myself sometimes. This song is like a song about self hatred. But what, ironically, the act of self love is being willing to perform it. And what's so interesting as an adult is I have gone out into the world as someone who was bullied as a child, and I have given millions of people the playbook on how to bully me. Do I know how to bully me right now? You could make the headline of this podcast, Fat Singer Casey McQuillen, which has happened to me, by the way.
oh, no.
That has happened to me. A tabloid in the UK, we did an interview, and they're like, "Fat singer Casey McQuillen." I was like, "Ah." Anyway, but I've given the world the playbook on how to bully me. If you call me stupid, it wouldn't hurt me. I'd be like, "I'm not stupid." If you call me mean, I'd be like, "I think I'm actually really kind. I don't think you're right." But if you call me fat, I'd be like, "Fair play. You are right." And what's so interesting, no one has. I never get DMs calling me fat. The worst I get is boomer people congratulating me on weight loss all the time. Like, you know that thing where, like, my generation knows you're just not supposed to comment on other people's bodies.
Yeah.
My older fans will be like, "Oh my god, you look so much better." And I'm like, "Oh, please stop." But what's amazing is, like, I don't it's amazing, right, that everyone's bullied in middle school and that I have gone on stage in front of a million people and given them the playbook on how to destroy me, and nobody has.
Except for that
And
tabloid.
Except for what's so funny, then you read the article, right? So, it's this is true. The Daily Mail, I'm sure even Americans know the Daily Mail. They're
Yep, I
like,
know the
"It's
Daily
a
Mail.
tabloid." So, I did an interview about how I had a song that I went to film a music video for in LA, and nobody could style me because I was too big. So, you're supposed to get a stylist, so you don't buy your own clothes for a music video. Stylists come and you kinda, like, borrow the clothes for the day, and it's a way to, like, be less wasteful, and you can use really nice stuff, and you don't have to pay as much for it. And my director called me and basically told me that she could not find a single stylist in LA who could style me, and I was a US size 10 at this point, which is not large. I'm actually a
No.
US 12 now. Um, but what the Daily Mail, if you read the article, what they were trying to do was rage bait it so that women would be like, "She's not fat," because they picked the best photos of me you've ever seen in your life. They scoured through my Instagram and found, like, them because I was like, "Oh my god, what is this article gonna look like?" It was all my, like, dating profile pics, like, I looked great in them, do you know what I mean? And they were making the point that, like, if she's fat, imagine what they'd say about you, like, that was their
Yeah.
point. So even in that article where they used that really brutal language, the article was actually about how it's so important that people like me are represented in the media because 'cause I'm actually much closer to the average human being walking on this planet. Right, so e and, like and now, honestly, that fat American singer thing has become this massive joke with my team. We do every time we're on tour, everything I do, we're like, "Fat American singer goes to the grocery store," like, we just think it's really funny
That's
anyway.
fun.
It's but again, because it's less of it's it can't 'cause it 'cause it I've worked on myself. It can only hurt me as much as I let it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Casey, I love your confidence. I love what you do. If people want to find your music, follow you, where can they do that?
Please, yeah, so my biggest platform is Instagram. My last name's a little hard to spell, so my Instagram is listen to Casey, listen to Casey. And, if you want more information on my anti-bullying program, you can go to my website, listentocasey.com. There's a tab on there called, I think, bullying prevention, and it's all about my program. You can see my interview on the Kelly Clarkson show. You can see, like, a little sizzle reel I made. And yeah, I would love to come to your school. I'm most just for the uh, parents listening. I work with kids like 11 and up because my
Perfect.
program's a little too heavy for children. You know what I mean? It's a little like I
Yeah.
don't want to, like, introduce concepts to 8-year-olds. Like, wait, kids can bully me for being fat. Like, I don't want to, like, let them know that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and then I'm on Spotify. And so if you want to hear my song Skinny, you can look up Skinny Casey McQuillen on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon. It'll pop right up. And I'd love to interface. My email address, if you want to email me like that little girl did. I love to chat and help in any way that I can because I kind of have, like, a little bit of a unique perspective on this. I interface with kids a lot like they're like I'm trying to go for, like, cool older cousin energy, like the older
Yeah.
cousin that you could tell stuff to, an authority figure, but, like, not like your parents. So yeah, I would love to chat, and thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah.
It's
And
always great to come into these spaces.
your assemblies, your over like in the UK got recognized by the UN, correct?
Yeah, yeah, that was, we got featured in the UN Foundation, had a had a program about recognizing what, like, young women were doing in the world, to make a difference, and so we were selected to be featured in that, which was very, very exciting. But yeah, no, it's I'm like, it's the thing that, I can fall asleep at night because I do this program, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes I'm like, "Does the world need another singer-songwriter? Like, we have enough of them." But then I'm like, "I don't know, it's okay." You know what I mean? Somebody's gonna sing, and at least I'm doing some good with it, you know?
Yeah, and you're focusing in on kids, which is great. There's not a lot of artists for kids
Yeah.
right now anyways, so this is perfect. You have a good spot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's been great.
Casey, I wanna thank you again for coming on my podcast. For people listening, you'll find her links in the show description. If you're watching on YouTube, you saw it go past your screen a while ago. Casey, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
And for myself, you can always find us at our very own website, which is www.breakingbullying.com. You can also reach out to us at our email address. If you have a story of your own bullying to share, or for whatever reason you want to get a hold of us, our email address is breakbullyinghere@gmail.com. If you're a victim of bullying and you don't know where to turn, there is online resources to help you. The first is the government's very own anti-bullying website, and the address is www.stopbullying.gov. If you have had thoughts of suicide or of self-harm, we implore you to stop. Reach out to the National Suicide Hotline. That number is very simple. It's 988. I'm Tim Flynn, and thank you for listening, and we will be back next week to continue the conversation to break the silence on bullying.